Hello and welcome into the last of our playoff series preview videos. It is the Edmonton Oilers versus the LA Kings. Now, if you want to check out the other series previews, even though most of the series have already started outside of the three Western ones that haven't started, because right now the Jets are actually playing the Avs. It's at intermission. That's why I'm recording this now. But if you want to check them out, they're on the channel. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see coverage throughout the playoffs. Hit the like button if you like this video. Let's get into talking about the Kings and the Oilers. So this is an interesting series. This is going to be the third year in a row that these teams have met in the first round, and the Oilers have won the last two. So it's going to be interesting. Can the Kings finally get over that hurdle, or will the LA Kings just kind of, fall to the Oilers again? As you can see in the odds, the Kings have the fourth worst odds at plus 3,000. The Oilers have the third best odds at plus 700. And that's kind of like a McDavid boost, if we're being honest. This team is good that the Oilers have. I have questions on the back end about how they're going to fare against better defensive teams in the playoffs. But the Kings are a good test early on because they are a good defensive team. As you can see, third least goals against in the league. So that will answer some questions about how their scoring will do against tough defenses. The other question is, how will their defense do? The Kings' offense is middle of the pack, as you can see, 16th in the league, which isn't on the higher end of the playoff teams. It's kind of on the lower mid. But, it's a good test, and they've been a good test for the Oilers the last few years. As you can see, the Kings are pretty middle of the pack in everything except for penalty kill, which they actually had the second best penalty kill. And you're going to need that against the Oilers. As you can see, they have the fourth best power play in the league at 26.3%. So that matchup is going to be very interesting on the special team side of things. In the past, the Oilers have relied on their center depth of Philip Deneau, guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois here to kind of cover McDavid, cover Draisaitl, try to limit them to the best of their ability. That's going to be an interesting thing to look at. You then look at the Oilers, who are minus 190. That means they're a good favorite. They're not a runaway like the Rangers are against the Capitals. They're not a slight favorite like the Panthers were against the Lightning, or the Bruins against the Maple Leafs. So minus 190, decent favorite. Plus 160, though, they give the Kings a shot because the Kings have played this team well in the past. You look at the season series, Edmonton won it 3-1. 3 of these games came after the new year, one around the new year, actually. The two most recent going the way of the Oilers, 4-2, 4-1. It shows that LA struggles to score against this team because Edmonton is a little better defensively. We'll talk about offense, though, for a second here. As you can see, the usual suspects at the top of the list for the Oilers, McDavid and Draisaitl. McDavid, 100 assists, became the fourth player of all time to do that in a season, 100 assists in a season. Kucherov then did it a few nights later, so that's kind of amazing. Draisaitl having 106 points, which is wild to say, but that's a little down for him. That's insane to say, but it's true. Bouchard, a point-per-game defenseman. That's insane. Zach Hyman, 54 goals, one of 3 50-goal scorers, I think. If I'm not mistaken, Reinhart, him, and Matthews. Matthews technically a 60-goal scorer. 69. Nice. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins still providing good depth scoring. Henrique, I thought that was a good get from the Ducks. Matthias Ekholm, good to see him healthy playing, and he's going to be pivotal. Plus 44 in the year. That is top 10 in the league for plus minus. Evander Kane playing a little more of a depth role this year. And just, okay depth players. They got Corey Perry, who had that weird situation with Chicago. He found his way onto the Edmonton Oilers. You then look at the Kings, who have a little more spread here. Leader, 75, and then you go down to about the 10th scorer in the 20s. The top line of the Kings is going to have to score at a point-per-game pace at least to beat them. They're going to need Quinton Byfield to step up. Drew Doughty's going to have to play monster minutes like he is. Drew Doughty finished the season top 5 in time on ice per game. A lot of people might not know that because they assume Drew Doughty's a little older, but he's still putting in those hard shifts. Pierre-Luc Dubois and Philip Deneau are probably the two key players in this series. Center depth on defense against the Oilers is critical. They're going to have to play out of their minds for the Kings to move on. We look at lines here. They're doing McDavid, Hyman, Henrique, Nugent, Hopkins, Draisaitl, Foegele. The bottom 6 for the Oilers is not that great, to be honest. You got some pieces down here who can score and can do work. Like Jan Mark's a tough player to play against. Corey Perry in the playoffs is an effective piece. Dylan Holloway's a young player. Evander Kane can score, but is he really a fourth-line role player like they have here? Not really too sure about it. For some reason, the site has Sam Carrick listed twice. I think that's just a mistake on the website I took this from. You then look at the Kings down the middle, very good depth. Kopitar, Danault, Lizotte, Dubois. They're just very solid at every position. There's not a really big hole in this lineup anywhere. And you need to run 4 lines against the Oilers, and you need to have defensive matchups with multiple lines. The Kings have that. That's why these series, the last 2 years, have gone 6 and 7 games. Defense just very solid. Gavrikov is proving to be worth the price they paid to Columbus, in my opinion. Matt Roy is a good defenseman. Mikey Anderson, Drew Doughty, good first pair. They're going to need to play out of their minds. Stats the last 20 games, as you can see, McDavid and Draisaitl both over 30 points in the last 21 and 24 games. Bouchard's been playing monster. Ekholm almost a point per game as well. That's kind of wild to have 2 defensemen that high. Hyman's 14 goals in his last 24. He gets all his goals in the dirty areas. Nugent Hopkins 13, 24, and then kind of a little bit of a drop once you get down here in terms of quality, but that's kind of how the Oilers run. They're going to need McDavid and Draisaitl to carry them. On the other hand, you have a little bit more of a unique setup here with defensive forwards here who pitch in on the offensive side of the ice. It's a 200-foot game if you're playing for the Kings. It really is, and that can't be stated. These numbers aren't going to look spectacular compared to Draisaitl, McDavid's, but they're good numbers. 24 and 20 games, 21 and 23, 20 and 22. You're really going to need the second line to step up. You're going to need players like Dubois to prove that they're worth the money. You're going to need Victor Arvidsson to produce that point per game. Quinton Byfield's going to have to step up. That's the big thing about the Kings. They need these younger players to turn into star players. I kind of think that Pierre-Luc Dubois trade wasn't good for them in the long run. I think they would benefit from having players like Gabriel Velarde and Alex Iafallo in this lineup, 2 players who can score. So you're going to need guys like Quinton Byfield to produce. You look at goalies, and you're going to need Cam Talbot to play better than he has been, and Cam Talbot's been a solid goaltender this year. Stuart Skinner on the other side of the ice has been solid. He's good. The Oilers haven't had good goaltending in the playoffs sometimes. They've had shaky goaltending. They have inconsistent goaltending. Like when Mike Smith was there, you never knew if you were getting Dominic Hasek or some bum who should be in the ECHL. It was kind of a random thing for them. Stuart Skinner, though, he's consistent, he's solid, and that's good enough for the Oilers. If you have the scoring the Oilers do, you don't need to have the best defense and goaltending in the world. It helps, but Stuart Skinner is good enough to do the job, in my opinion. Cam Talbot will have to play very good against this Oilers offense. Last 20 games, as you can see, both teams have been pretty solid in the last 20 games. The Edmonton Oilers have the 7th most regulation wins since March 1st. The Kings have the 10th. And you can see the Kings have played 2 less games than the Oilers. So if you add in 2 more games, there's a good chance that the Kings actually have another regulation win or one more than Edmonton. So current form, they're about the same. History of playoffs, as we mentioned, the Kings have lost back-to-back years in the first round to the Oilers. Can they break that streak, or is it going to be 3 in a row for the Oilers? The Oilers, on the other hand, last year they bowed out after they beat the Kings. The year before they went to the conference finals. And it's kind of looking like it might just be Edmonton's again. And I think that's kind of the vibe that you probably have been picking up from me throughout this video, is that I see it being kind of tough sledding for the Kings to win this series. I have more faith in the Oilers just because of history, current form. I feel like a lot of the younger players in this series, need to step up for the Kings for them to really go far. And I'm not sure what you're going to get out of them. I know Evan Bouchard is a better player than he was last year. I think the Oilers are a better defensive team than they were last year. I think the Kings had a better chance of beating the Oilers last year than this year. And I really see a tough matchup for the Kings here. I don't think it's likely that they get out of the first round. I'm picking the Oilers, not looking back. When in doubt, you pick the team with Connor McDavid. I'm not in doubt, though. I'm picking the team with Connor McDavid. So that's my thoughts on the series. I know it's kind of quick and brief, but I feel like when you have a series that has taken place the last 2 years and has gone the same way both times, it's kind of, one team's gone a little better since then. The other has been kind of the same, if not maybe slightly worse. So yeah, the Oilers are my pick. And with that being said, that's going to wrap up the video. If you want to check out my other series previews, so a lot of them go into a little more depth than this one. Not to say this is a bad one, it's just a little more brief. With that being said, thank you for watching the video. If you want to subscribe to see future hockey content, press the subscribe button. If you like the video, press the like button, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Peace.